Hello everyone, welcome to chapter 81 on my RLDR Custom Creations YouTube channel. Today was my first day in the shop for this fall session with students. So it was a lot of fun to have students back in the shop here, but it reminds me that I've got a few things that I need to get done. And one of those is I need to mount my grinder and also put my Wolverine system, transfer it from this grinder onto this one. So that's what we're going to do in today's video. So if you want to see what I'm going to do, all you have to do is stay tuned. Well, as I said, the students were back in the shop today and it was a lot of fun. I love working with students. They're so much fun to work with. And but you know what? I'm glad I'm not working in the public system anymore. The pace is just too intense. So right now I'm teaching about 2 days a week. It does mean that there's at least another day involved with getting things ready and making sure the shop's going to work. But anyway, that's kind of a step down from teaching 5 days a week. And the teaching day was a little longer than what I'm doing as well. So anyway, that's an aside, but this grinder I bought last spring. It's a Princess Auto Special, like most of my, or I shouldn't say most of my stuff, but a lot of my stuff around here is. It's a Pro Point grinder with a 3/4 horse motor. Be nice if it was a 1 horse, but that was a 1/3 horse. Now, it's not mentioned anywhere. It's an 8-inch grinder. You just assume it's got some power, but it doesn't. So this grinder is going to get set up on this, what I'm hoping will be a temporary workbench. In the master plan for this area of the shop, you can't see it, it's out of camera, but I have a go-bar deck right in the corner there, and it's a separate unit. And then I've got about 5 feet of counter here, and this counter is fairly deep. It's about 32 inches, I think. And it makes this space between the sanders and the face of this a little tighter than I'd like it to be. So eventually what I'm going to do is I'm going to build a set of cabinets in here that's going to be 8 feet long, which comes to about here. And the counter will be about 26 inches wide, so I can, shave a little bit off. Like I said in an earlier video, working in this shop is really a game of inches, and that's exactly right. So what we're going to do is we're going to downsize this a little bit, but make it longer, and integrate the go-bar deck into the end. I had some ideas for that. I'm not sure what I'm going to do quite there yet. And they're going to be drawers, probably banks of 3 at least, or sorry, 4 banks of 3 drawers or 4 banks of 4 drawers. But I need to store, I've got turning stuff that needs to be stored. I've got tools that need to be stored. And I'm hoping that I can construct this. And I have an idea that I should be able to make it relatively inexpensively. So when I build this, I'll definitely get this on the channel. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mount this onto this temporary bench here. And then I'm going to take my Wolverine grinding jig setup off of this grinder and install it on this one. But the instructions for that, if you follow Oneway's instructions, it's pretty straightforward. But I'm just going to walk you through it to see what you think. And I have one little twist that I'm going to put in here to make it so that another style of sharpening can be done. So with that in mind, I will be back, and the first job will be to fasten this onto this. All right. Well, I thought kind of at the last minute here, this grinder is already set up. I'm going to take the pieces off of there and move them over here. but there are some specifications that you need to be aware of. And I no longer have the sheet of instructions that came with my stuff. However, it's all online. So just go to Oneway online and you can find those mounting directions. Now, if you have a new one, it'll be in the box. And I hope they haven't changed. Well, no, I'm looking this up on the internet. So they haven't changed from when I did this. So anyway, just a few things to make you aware of. First of all, the height from your base to the center of the grinding wheel needs to be between 6.5 and 8.25 inches. This is 6.5. And on my new setup, I wanted to raise that up a little bit. I wanted to get kind of in the middle of that 6.25 and 6.5 and 8.25. So I'm at about 7 3/8 here. So I think that's going to work out just great. The other thing, there's a couple other things. First of all, the V, pardon me, or the square, the diamond, that needs to be centered in the wheel. So basically like that, it needs to go to the center of the grinding wheel. And another thing is that the face of the grinding wheel and the face of the jig need to be equal. Now I can see mine's back a little bit. These wheels have shrunk. Well, not shrunk, but basically had grit taken off of them over the years. And that no longer applies here. So on my CBN wheel, that shouldn't be a problem. And yeah, this needs to be centered, this needs to be flush. One other measurement that they throw in, and I'm not exactly sure why it's a big deal, but they suggest that the front of these mechanisms here be not more than 1/2 inch from your base, from the edge of your base. I'm not sure why that's a big deal, but fortunately, in my setup here, it's going to work out that way. So now the problem with my setup is this table, I would like this grinder here for a number of different reasons, but there's a whole bunch of stuff under here that's going to make it difficult to attach. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly attach that. I think I'm going to do most of it off camera because how exciting is it to see 4 bolts being put in. So I'm going to do that, and then I'll bring you back when I'm moving this stuff over. Okay? Okay, well, I had to take you mobile because this corner of my shop is so tight right now that I couldn't get my tripod in here properly, but I think this will give you a better idea of what I actually did. So you'll notice if you look down here, I've got a few lines here, and I'll explain how I did that. And remember, all these instructions are online. I believe it's at oneway.ca. If you've lost yours or you're like me repurposing, you bought a new grinder and you're setting it up again. So, okay, this line here is the face of the wheel. Okay, so I'll try to show you that. I just took a square and I went down through the face. Actually, I went to the side. Yeah, it's complicated, but I managed to transfer this part here down to that line there. Okay, and I think with the CBN wheel, that is an especially important direction because this wheel doesn't change. So to have that set right, I think, is quite important. Let's see, what's next? Okay, this line here, I'm not sure how important that is. That's my 1/2 inch here. And it's talked about in Oneway's instructions, but I don't know, because I've got another 1/4 inch here, so technically this is 3/4 inch from there. Does it matter? I don't think so, but if I have to change it, I'll show you. Then the center line. Now this is important because the base, okay, this part here, I can hold you and show you that part there needs to line up with this here. So what I did is I made a little dot in the middle of my wheel, and that is this line here. Now the one thing I'm doing just to make things go a little faster, and I just didn't feel like taking the guard off again, and that meant taking the wheel off and all that stuff. So I just worked around the guard. So in my way of thinking, measuring, setting up, um, aligning to the center mark would be a little tougher. So what I did is I realized it is 2 inches from there to there. So I drew a 2-inch line to the outside, and now when I set this up, I'll just set it, okay, it's hard to do with one hand. I'll just set it something like that, and I'll screw it on, and I'm just going to use the same screws that were in here before. These are, what, 1.5 or 1.5 deck screws. Nothing fancy. Now, this is a temporary setup. This is going to come off again when I build my new piece of furniture here, because this is ugly and terrible, and it just doesn't suit my needs. So we're going to make those changes. And I'm not going to bother showing you the other side because it's exactly the same. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to screw this on quickly, and then I'm going to bring you back maybe on the tripod so you can see another little modification that I've made to this system. Okay, we'll be with you in a bit. Ooh. Okay, the only downside about this thing is now it's going to run forever. There's a lot of mass in that wheel, and it runs a long time. But it works flawlessly. Like, these are the tools that I was using with my grade 8 group, grade 7 and grade 8 group yesterday. Tried something new with them. None of the grade 7s, I'll correct myself. One of the grade 7s had turned before, but they'd never used spindle roughing gouge. So the first project that we're making is just learning how to cut with the spindle roughing gouge. It's just a set of 3 cylindrical candle holders, and I'll maybe show you a picture of those in a future video. We are going to marble them, so that should be cool as well. So, but anyway, this is what I needed yesterday. These things were getting dull, and I took my diamond hone and went over them a little bit, but this is far superior. It seems to sharpen really nicely, and that's what I was looking for. But the one thing that I mentioned at the very beginning, that I was going to also set this for another type of sharpening. And what I was referring to there is the Ellsworth grind. And I am, during the early 2000s, mid 2000s, up until he had some real health problems, I was quite a devout follower of Captain Eddie Castellan, and I really appreciated his videos. Lately I've been busy. I haven't really looked for him on the net anymore, and I should maybe do that again. But his contribution to the knowledge pool for turners, in my view, was exceptional. So a lot of these little ideas that you see here are things that I picked up from his channel. So, but one of the things that he made is he made a sharpening system, and it's not terribly prevalent with the turners in my area. We sharpen the one-way way. We're Canadian. Um, there was a one-way influence in this area, let's put it that way. And it was people around here that knew the manufacturers personally. And that's the way we've always sharpened. But Captain Eddie was always a fairly large proponent of the David Ellsworth grind. And So I tried to, many years ago, I tried to replicate that with this system. And the one problem that I had was in Captain Eddie and his information on the Ellsworth system, this pocket needs to be 4 inches below the center of the grinding wheel. And this doesn't do that. I'm not sure exactly what it is, but I'm just going to take a rough measurement here. You know, we're at about 5.5. So I needed to raise this pocket. So I've never shied away from welding, as you know, on this channel. So many years ago, what I did is I made another pocket. And it slides in here like this. And you can set it at whatever height you want and tighten it in. And you can get that Ellsworth grind with your one-way equipment. It's a simple modification. I believe this is 1-inch shaft, and boy, oh boy, you'd think after 81 videos I'd be prepared. 3/4, and it slides into a 1-inch piece. So I used, what, 2 inches? 2 inches of 1-inch tube and 5 inches of 3/4 inch tube. And then I made a pocket. I think this is 1 inch. Yeah, 1 inch cut diagonally. And then just a little piece to back it up. And I welded that all together, welded a nut in there, and made it so 1/4-20 attachments work in here just wonderfully. Another thing you may recognize from the Captain Eddie days is these set things. I made a bunch of them, and I had people asking me to build them for them, but I never had time. So, but they are a nice thing. And now with my dime or with my CBN wheel, I'm going to be able to set it and leave it. So awesome. But yeah, if you want to set up that David Ellsworth grind, now you can. And the other thing that I have here is this little rod, which is 7 inches long. So in the Ellsworth system, what you want to be, according to, and this is all on Captain Eddie's website yet, what's eddiecastellan.com, something like that. But look for him. He's published hundreds of videos. You know, it's a shame that people have to get old and lose their health, but no, he. I really appreciate watching him, and I learned so much from him. But anyway, according to the information on his website, you need, there's a few measurements you need. Okay, I would use a bowl gouge normally, but I don't have one here. This stick out from your jig to the tip of the tool, needs to be 2 inches. In the one-way system, it's 1.75 inches. Usually. Now, some people go whatever, but usually it's between 1.75 inches and 2. So there's 2 inches there, 4 inches here from the center of the wheel to the pocket. That should be 4 inches. And then the other distance is 7 inches. So there you go. I didn't set this for height, but I would expect it's somewhere about there. So now I could sharpen that David Ellsworth grind. And as far as I know, those are basically the only 2 jig setup grindings that people normally use. So what's important to me is when I have a class here that we can accommodate what shows up at the door. Now, we encourage people to bring their own things because it is important that they learn to sharpen with their own stuff. So, but that brings me to the next thing I want to talk about just a little bit. Now, I was set up. I had a portable tool cart that I could roll around with this guy on it, and we could sharpen pretty much anywhere in the shop. Why did I go to this system? Well, for a few reasons. You'll notice it's pretty tight in here. And tight is a problem with this whole shop. I just have a little bit too much stuff, and it's not properly put away yet. I'm still working on that. So one of the things I could do by getting rid of that mobile tool cart, I just put it in another building, I freed up, I bet you about 3 or 4 square feet. And in this shop, that's a lot of territory. So that worked out well. The other thing is it's solid, it's rigid, it doesn't roll around, it's much more planted. The other thing for me, when I turn, it's close to my lathe, which is another real advantage. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to stay here when I redo this side, and hopefully it can maybe happen this winter. But the plan is to build about 8 feet of cabinet here, standard cabinet depth at 24 inches, and the countertop maybe I'll extend over 2 inches, but it'll be a solid wood countertop like all my others, and we'll laminate that together and finish it, and that'll be wonderful. But the grinder may actually move again. I need to figure out what to do behind my lathe. I don't know if you can see that on camera here, but I might turn this corner kind of into a turning area, or a sharpening area. So that's one thing that could maybe change a little bit here. But no, as far as the grinder going, with this heavy CBN wheel, it just takes a little while to ramp up. I have it on lowest speed now. I see a little bit of wobble in that wheel. I didn't true it when I have the truing things on those wheels. Okay, so that's slowest speed. That's wide open. So far, I'm quite impressed with it. It runs nice and smooth. It's got a little light here if you want that. There we go. And it takes a long time to quit spinning. So, but other than that, this is going to work out well. So, yeah, we're getting to the end here. So, this is my solution for dealing with the 2 perspective grinds that you could use with your one-way jig. Captain Eddie has all kinds of plans. You can make your own stuff if you're on a budget. And I think that's another thing that turning instructors and people need to emphasize, that this doesn't have to cost you thousands. Yes, I drank the Kool-Aid. I went to CBN. I vowed I never would. And if it would be just me turning, I wouldn't have bothered. Because I think when you watch YouTube a lot, there's a lot of people that are pushing different products. And what I don't like about that is it's almost that the way you get the edge is more important than the edge itself. And that to me is wrong. If I can get satisfactory or results that I'm happy with off of those wheels, why do I need to buy this one? I don't. Now, I did this because of peer pressure, but hey, I'm sorry, but if you can go in your driveway and find 3 rocks and get a really happy, get an edge on your tool that you're happy with and you're turning well with, by all means, do it. It isn't about spending money to get things sharp. It's knowing how to sharpen properly. Okay? So I'll step off my soapbox for now, and we'll be coming back to you probably in a couple of days here. I've got another video that just came in the mail. It's more safety stuff, but it is important. If you're having people in your shop like I do, it's critical. You have to do it. If you're getting to be like my age and older, maybe it's something you should do for yourself, so that if something goes wrong for you in your shop, you can immediately treat the problem. So anyway, that's coming up probably Saturday. And until then, have fun turning, set up your grinder. You don't have to drink the Kool-Aid with the CBN wheel, but hey, it's cool. Okay, we'll see you on Saturday.